Right now, in May 2026, we are looking at a totally chaotic paradox. On one hand, reports are flashing that a peace deal is done, but on the other hand, the missiles are literally still flying. Welcome to this explainer, where we're breaking down the absolute latest on the US-Iran conflict. It is urgent, it's incredibly fast-paced, and the reality on the ground is shifting by the hour.
We are 3 months in. That's 90 days of intense, kinetic warfare. And we're tracking this in real time because the stakes here are global and immediate. You know, this isn't history yet. This is unfolding right in front of us, exactly as we speak.
And to put that into perspective, look at this number, $25 billion. That's the massive financial drain of just 3 months of combat. The resources poured into this are absolutely monumental, and yet the situation on the ground remains incredibly murky.
Which brings us to the central question of this whole thing. Is this war actually over? Look, both sides are claiming they want peace, but their actions on the ground are telling a violently different story. So today, we're going to systematically cut through that fog of war to figure out what's really going on here. All right, Section 1, the deal that almost happened.
So on May 28th, this massive revelation dropped from an Arab official directly involved in the talks. They told NBC News, American and Iranian negotiators had agreed to the outline of a deal days ago. I mean, think about that for a second. A deal already exists. So why would two warring nations agree to an outline only to just stall? Well, it basically boils down to intense domestic politics. US President Donald Trump needs this deal to be framed as a total victory, not some sort of compromise. And meanwhile, Iran's new supreme leader, Mujtaba Khamenei, he has to definitively show his base that there's been no surrender. So both of these leaders are facing immense pressure to save face at home. The agreement exists on paper, sure, but the signatures do not. But while the diplomats maneuver in boardrooms, the reality on the ground is kinetic. Moving on to Section 2, ceasefire violated. We just saw a chaotic 48 hours completely shatter any illusion of a pause. Let's track this timeline. May 27th, US forces strike Iranian targets near the vital Strait of Hormuz. That exact same day, Bloomberg reports there's no accord in sight. Then bam, the very next day, May 28th, Iran strikes right back, targeting a US military base in Kuwait with missiles. It's a rapid-fire breakdown of this supposed peace. And now we're looking at a complete contradiction. America says Iran struck first. Iran says America struck first. Both nations are actively dropping bombs and launching missiles, all while simultaneously accusing the other guy of violating the ceasefire. Which brings us to Section 3, rhetoric versus reality. We really have to separate public posturing from reality here. On May 27th, President Trump asserted that Iran was, quote, negotiating on fumes. He insisted the upcoming midterms wouldn't alter his war strategy. The rhetoric projects this absolute confidence, basically portraying the adversary as weak and near total collapse. But here is the critical contradiction. If Iran is truly on fumes, like literally about to give up, why is the deal not signed? Why are we 3 months into this conflict, still taking ongoing strikes? If your opponent is collapsing, a peace agreement logically follows, right? Yet, we wait. Well, a CNN report actually reveals the bottleneck. Despite American and Iranian negotiators hammering out a tentative agreement, President Trump himself has not approved it. The deal negotiated by his own team is just sitting there waiting. This hesitation at the very top is exactly what's keeping this kinetic conflict active. Let's look at what's actually in that document. Section 4, inside the unsigned agreement. We're going to dive directly into the leaked terms because this is what's really at stake. 5 concrete points have ostensibly been agreed upon in secret. 1. The Strait of Hormuz is reopened. 2. The U.S. naval blockade on Iranian ports gets lifted. 3. Iran agrees to limits on its nuclear program. 4. Sanctions relief. And 5. A prisoner exchange. Honestly, it looks like a pretty comprehensive roadmap. But here's the catch. That roadmap falls short of total victory. Here is what is missing. Iran's full nuclear dismantlement, their ballistic missile program, and Iranian support for proxy groups. Literally, none of those are resolved. The US only partially achieved its original war objectives. And that is exactly why this document is so difficult for politicians to sign. It forces them to accept compromise. So what happens next? Section 5, 3 possible future scenarios. Let's break down the 3 distinct paths this conflict can take from this exact moment. Scenario 1. The deal gets signed, Hormuz opens, US forces withdraw, and both sides declare a win. Scenario 2, the deal collapses entirely, fighting resumes on a full scale, oil prices spike drastically, and the winter of 2026 becomes the most expensive in modern history. And then there's Scenario 3, a frozen conflict. No signed deal, no full-scale war, just low-level, ongoing retaliatory strikes.
And as of right now, May 30th, 2026, Scenario 3 is by far the most likely outcome. Both sides are completely exhausted by the toll of this conflict, yet neither is willing to admit defeat, and neither wants to commit to the compromises actually required for lasting peace. And look, a frozen conflict guarantees permanent uncertainty. It means continued high fuel prices hitting global economies today. But most importantly, it means ordinary people across the region are stuck in this dangerous state of suspended animation, paying the real human cost of a geopolitical stalemate. Decades from now, the 2026 Iran war is going to be studied not just for the military tactics, but for these exact fraught negotiations. It's going to be remembered for the deals laid on the table, the signatures withheld, and the peace that almost came. Which leaves us with one final question. Based on the immense political pressure and these ongoing retaliatory strikes, will this deal finally be signed, or is the war going to restart in full, unconstrained force? Weigh the evidence, consider the massive global stakes, and let me know your prediction in the comments. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and stay curious.